Hey guys, welcome to AK Hurricane Bullies YouTube channel. This is Atlas in the front, the blue, Muse in the back, the black and white. A couple of pocket bullies, the American bullies. And both of them are female. And everybody told me, a lot of people actually have told me that it is virtually impossible to have two, I'll go like this, two of the same sex dogs out together in the same area. And I haven't posted on YouTube that they have gotten into fights, right? You got two females. Atlas is 2 years old. We've been raising her since she was 8 weeks old. You know, she is our baby. And Muse, we just got her a few months ago. She was having some fights with her grandmother. Nope. Sit. Yes. Stay. Anyway, so she was having fights with her grandmother that were resulting in, you know, some pain. And of course, she's got scarring all over her face. And that was from the fight that these two decided to get into a few weeks ago. And when they got into their fight, you know, I had never had two females that thought that, you know, they were dominant. Sit. Stay. And at the time, they didn't have these collars on them. And the fight ended up resulting in being 25 minutes long. That gave her all her scars. And then, of course, Atlas. She's got some, you know, not too bad scarring on her legs. But basically, that's what happened. No. And so, the thing that I've learned is that there are, certain triggers that cause them to fight. I'm going to pause this for a second and put their muzzles on them. Hold on. Okay, we're back. Anyway, so I don't feel bad for them. Trust me, they need these muzzles. So anyway, so after that fight, I attempted to break it up by myself. It went on for a very, very long time. I even called the vet and, you know, asked, how can you break up a dog fight by yourself? Because I was by myself. So if you're with another person, it's easier because everybody says, oh, you pick up their back legs and you lift them up like a wheelbarrow and then you simply just back up and that breaks up the fight. And it does. If you're with two people, when you're by yourself and your dogs don't have collars on, it is virtually impossible to break up a fight. And I tried for 25 minutes. And basically, you know, I was scared to death. I tried everything. I tried water. My vet told me to stick my finger up their butts. And when you have two dogs fighting, the last thing that I'm honestly thinking about, and that's very grotesque if you ask me, is to stick your finger in a dog's butt. And I've watched other dog fighting videos where people are attempting to do this. And one guy even held his thumb in the dog's butt for minutes and the dog fight never broke up. So clearly that doesn't work. And then the water didn't work either. You know, I splashed water on them. I didn't have a water hose. I'm in my house and they're fighting. So obviously a water hose wasn't accessible. So I had a glass of water and I splashed it on them and that didn't stop anything. And they say, you know, oh, pull the aggressor off. Well, I would pull this one off because she's beefy, big, and she honestly starts a lot of the fights. But when I pulled her off, this one just went at her more. So then I would pull this one off and she would go at her more. So basically I was just helping the other one to get more beat up. So at that point, I started watching videos. How do you break up a dog fight alone? And I even went to an awesome trainer up here, 907 Hellhound Crew. I have to give her a lot of props for the things that she's taught me in just a few short weeks. But basically, these collars that they're wearing are your basic collars with buckles. And this is what I was watching on this other guy's YouTube channel. You know, he trains, you know, the police canine dogs. And he said the best way to break up a dog fight is not to pull, not to do any of that, not to yell, scream. And you know, in my first fight, I did everything wrong. I did all that stuff. You know, I was yelling, I was screaming, I lost my voice. I was throwing food items at them because I was in the middle of, reorganizing my pantry. It was awful. It was the worst experience of my life. And I know I have PTSD from it. I still can recall every moment of that fight, of these two just going to blows. I love you, Babas. Yeah, you're so cute. And, people are like, oh, get rid of the dog. And I don't want to do that because, yes, I just got her, but she is such a sweetheart and near and dear to my heart. She snuggles with me. I only put these muzzles on them, honestly, because they're not dangerous dogs. They're not crazy. At the end of the day, it's really just things can provoke a dog fight really easily. And what they fought over was a freaking toy, which is in the corner now over there, because I took their toys away. They did have another fight over a hot dog, which we're going to get into. But, their fights can break out really fast. And, so now during playtime, when they want to play, they have to wear their muzzles because then they can't latch onto each other. When they do start getting provoked, I still break it up because I don't want them to think that just because they're in muzzles and just because they can't latch onto each other that I want them to fight. And in the same room together, obviously, they don't fight. It's just when it's provoked over something. And one time it was playtime became too rough. The hot dog, I was showing my daughter how good their training was going so far. One of them had a hot dog and the other one wanted it, and so they fought. And with these collars, I was able to break up the fight by myself within seconds. Even my 14-year-old daughter, I'm trying to get these two little shits out of the way, the two little dogs, because they will jump in it as well. All dogs will jump into the fight once it starts. And I was trying to rescue these two, which clearly are itty bitty little chihuahuas, that the brown one, the male, decided to launch off the couch onto her head and started biting her ear. So I was worried about the small dogs, obviously. So, I pulled those dogs out of the way. My 14-year-old daughter walks by me, and within 2 seconds, the time it took me to just turn around, she had both these dogs up by their collars, handed me Muse, said, here, take Muse. And that was it. It was done. And I put Muse in her kennel, and the fight was over. So the difference between a 25-minute fight, a fight that doesn't end, because usually when females fight, they sometimes do fight to the death, I've heard, have collars. And basically you grab them up by their collar, not with muzzles on because, they can't latch onto each other, but it goes directly under their neck. You lift their front legs off the ground. It is basically choking them out. But in a dog fight, dogs can't breathe through their nose. They're only breathing through their mouth, and it forces them to let go. That is the number one way to break up a dog fight. You simply lift both of them up by their collars, one in each hand, and you lift their front legs up off the ground, collars directly under their chin. And trust me, in the middle of a dog fight, you're not sitting there trying to adjust the collar. You're just making sure that they unlatch from each other and you can separate them safely. So I've got some tools that I've learned over these, past few weeks that you should have on hand when you have two of the same size dogs, and same sex. If you have a male and a female, they rarely fight. And when they do, it's usually within, over in seconds because it's a different hierarchy. The male, if you have two males, they're fighting for dominance, especially if you have two of the same size and around the same age. So Annie, my older dog, she was 12 years old when I got Atlas. They didn't fight because Annie was older and she wasn't getting into that hubbub. But Muse and Atlas are very close in age. So Atlas is 2, Muse is 1. So one of the things I've learned, don't train them together. Unless you have two completely separate trainers in two different areas. So to train two dogs separately, and of course, again, I'm by myself, right? Atlas has her place, and I have attached this to the wall. It's like a basic $6 hookup. The cord can be cut to length. Once you find out your length, you cut it, tie it in a knot, and it's done. The bracket on the bottom of the wall into the stud holds 600 pounds. She's a 54-pound dog. And then this thing holds 300 pounds. She's not getting out of that. And Atlas hates kennels. I couldn't kennel train her. She wouldn't do it for the life of her when she was a puppy. I've always kennel trained my dogs, but she just wasn't taking to it. Muse, on the other hand, has a kennel. So I'll put her in her kennel, which I call her place, and lock the door, and I'll do training with Atlas by herself. Then when it's time for me to train Muse, Atlas goes in her place. She's buckled in. They can't possibly fight over their treats. Another thing to have for training dogs, for basic obedience, I've learned high-value treats is what my trainer called them, or hot dogs. My dogs don't give two shits about dog treats when it comes to obedience training and actually being serious about obedience training. These things have saved my life. Hot dogs. I cut them into tiny little bite-sized pieces. I have a little treat pouch that I throw them in. Yes, I do, stink like hot dogs when I'm done, but you know what? It works. It is lovely. Another thing I've learned are prong collars. And, I was always against these for the longest time till I found out I was using them wrong. So a prong collar needs to be directly behind their ears when you put them on them. So prongs follow basically where this muzzle follows, and it goes directly up behind their ear, and it wraps around under their chin. Sorry, she's really beat up. Atlas took a number on her, so hopefully her scars heal, but my poor babes. And so when you're doing obedience training with the prong collar, once these little things hit those pressure points, they instantly do what you're asking them to do. Notice these are the good prongs. These are very rounded. They can't possibly stab into their neck. Hi, Papa. Yeah. I know. She thinks we're going to do training because it's all out. And so she's under the impression that we're about to do training. So she's getting excited because she's like, Mama, I want hot dogs. I don't like the muzzle either. Can you take it off of me, please? But, playtime, muzzles, it's just something that I've learned that they need. So those are some basic things that I've learned to have. And honestly, at the end of the day, if I'm watching them and I'm paying attention to them, they don't fight. The only time they fight is if it's provoked. And the last 2 fights they got into were 100% my fault. The first one was I was letting them have playtime and it got too aggressive and it started a fight instantly. And then the second time was, again, I had treats. I gave a treat to one of them and not the other one. So, again, that was my fault. So I say it's always Atlas that starts it. But she wants to play, so she's very hyper. And so this is her like, hey, come play with me. And Muse is like, I don't want to. I'm wearing my muzzle. I don't like playing with my muzzle on. And they don't. It usually calms them down and they just lay down and then they want to sleep because they're dejected that they're wearing muzzles. And so I'm okay with playtime. Usually when they start doing this like Mexican standoff, I kind of watch them, make sure that, one of them isn't trying to be too dominant. And as long as they're playing fairly, then I'm okay with it. It's when I watch this one react, and she gets tired of it really quickly, and that's when I, call it off. And so telltale things, that I watch for. If one of them's wanting to play and the other one's not, I call it off. No, no playtime, stop it. If they start to get like this weird growl that they get, which is like the start of the fight, it's like this, really loud, vicious, guttural sound, with the muzzles on it. It's easy to break it up because I can just redirect their attention to me and break it up fairly quickly. Other than that, it is possible to have 2 dogs of the same sex, much as everybody says you can't. You just have to have the tools in hand that you need when they start being too much. Harry likes to start a lot of stuff. And so the small chihuahuas actually are my main problem now when it comes to dog fights. No, I'm not taking it off because you guys get too rough with playtime. So, don't feel bad about muzzles. It's just like us wearing face masks. It's basically a way for me to guarantee that they can play safely and they can't latch onto each other. So a lot of people, they think, oh, a muzzle is terrible for your dog. It's so cruel. It's not. What's more cruel is letting your dogs latch onto each other and possibly get into a dog fight that causes an injury. So, and these muzzles are meant for the bully breeds. They are for short snouts and also for the wider mouths. And so I love these ones. They're leather. Muse has actually physically gotten it off on her bottom lip and chewed on the muzzle, and she can't do any, I mean, she chews on it, but it doesn't damage it or anything. They can still breathe. I can still give them treats. They can still pant. They can open their mouth. You know, we've done training with these muzzles on them, and they're just fine. And this is how we actually take them to group training sessions. Atlas is very social with other dogs. We've been socializing her since she was a puppy. So she's actually good around other dogs. This one, on the other hand, is not. She's very, very reactive with other dogs. And so she tries to, when Atlas gets excited, Muse takes it as, who are we attacking? Who are we killing? And so at the beginning of our group training sessions, they'll be in their muzzles for, 10 to 15 minutes, depending on the day. If it's hot out, I won't put them in them. That's just cruel. But I also have them on their prongs. Very, very short leashes. They have 1 foot leashes. In fact, that's actually something that you guys should know that is very important to have with these kind of dogs that are reactive. Short leashes. This is maybe 1.5 feet actually. Just long enough to hook to her, and I hold it, and she's got a little bit of slack, and that's it. They think they're going somewhere. Yeah. So short leashes. I do have long leashes for training, for teaching them, the heel command, recall, stuff like that. Those are 20-foot leashes, but I only use that after we've done some of the basics, and she knows that we're in a group training setting with, 30 other dogs around, and they can't become reactive with the other dogs. So, yep. So that's my take. It was really hard for me to find this information on YouTube, so I figured I should post this for you guys, that, yes, it is possible to have 2 of the same sex and have them live in coexistence, as long as you take certain measures and just protect them as best as you can. And so that's what I do. And so this is their little playtime. I let them do this until, one of them tries to react, and then it's over. So, but at least with muzzles, they can't hurt each other, and that makes me feel, overall better. So when they're not wearing these, it's all mouth, and, it results in them biting one another, and then that's, when I have to choke them out to get them to let go. And so I feel better with muzzles during playtime, and they know they can play. So I'll post some videos, of training sessions, and let you guys kind of see how I do the training with them, what I've learned so far from the trainer that we're going through, and her knowledge is just, some of the best. Relax. So that guttural sound that they get sometimes, they're still kind of in play mode, but if they were, trying to use their mouths, hey, relax, then that's when it results in usually a fight breaking out, and then that's when I have to break it up. So anyway, I'm going to get off this video so I can focus on them and their playtime and make sure nothing happens, because I don't like it when they try to fight. But thanks for watching. Hit that thumbs up if you found this content useful in any way, and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.